Hari. So, welcome everyone. Today is a very special class. It is Bhaktivinoda Thakur's disappearance day, and we have just finished our regular Saturday class. We discussed 10 items of, I don't know if we finished the last item. I think we did. Maybe Sundari Radha can tell me. And we were meant to come up with a new topic today. And the reason today's topic is so special is that I don't know what we're going to talk about, because I didn't pick a topic, and Sundari Radha suggested we talk about Bhagavad Gita. I'm not sure what that means. It means that we talk like for the next year about Bhagavad Gita, which we could do. Do we go through 700 verses? 700 verses, that would take us, well, we have 52 weeks. So that would take us, what, 12 and a half years? Something like that, if you do a verse a day. So I'm going to chant a little bit, and while I'm chanting, we're going to think about what we should do. And I just want to remember from Sundari Radha, if we, did we finish the number 10? Or did we still have more? That you have to tell me, because I don't remember. So, and then we can discuss, I think today is an appropriate day to discuss Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and then maybe we can discuss about exactly what it means to do Bhagavad Gita. That's a big thing. And then if this is the right time to do it, because a lot of people can't attend this time. It's European time, it's midnight. Well, it's 10 p.m. in London and 11 somewhere else. And get into Russia, it's pretty late. So we have to discuss that. That's all I can say. And that's all I will say right now. And we finished them, including number 10. I thought we kind of needed to do more in 10. Today I gave a class. I didn't publicly announce it because it ended up being the same time my wife was giving her class, and I didn't want anyone to miss it. And I have to apologize, we had a mix-up. I thought that we were broadcasting, where we were broadcasting the class today on Zoom was an account that turned out not to be, and it was a space out. And so some of you who signed up for it maybe missed it. It was recorded, and we will also do it again if you missed it. So, I apologize for that. That was a space out. Spacing out does happen. Yeah. Anyway, we'll resolve that. But let's chant a little bit, because Prabhupada said, chanting and prasadam, perfection. And before I forget, tomorrow, 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, there's going to be initiation of 2 devotees, Amber from Sydney and Lucy from Cape Town. So you're all invited, and I believe that's been posted. And I'm sure it's just on my Facebook page. And so that'll be nice. I will talk about the 10 offenses. I also want to talk about vows, because I don't think we're doing the yagya. It's basically that I will talk and they will take their vows. It's going to be the first Zoom initiation I've done. So I think I'll talk a little longer. It'll be like a class. So I'll talk about vows. I'll talk about the 10 offenses. I'll talk about what it means to be a disciple. So I think it'll be useful, helpful, interesting, enlightening. So if you can come, I understand if you're, in Mexico or California, it's probably too early. But that should be a good time I think it's a decent time, 8 p.m. for Australia. And definitely a good time for Europe, about noon on Sunday. That's a good time. And then tomorrow, something else. Hold on. I'll put you on pause. I think there's some normal kirtan at 10:30 a.m. And that's also going to be broadcast on 24-hour kirtan they're doing in Surfers Paradise, Gold Coast, Australia. And so we're going to be broadcasting simultaneously. So it's always nice to do kirtan. And these are difficult times because we need association and we don't get a lot in kirtan as our life and soul. So it's always nice to do some kirtan. And then at 5 p.m. my time, if you go to the Alachua website, I'm going to give a class. It's Father's Day tomorrow, so I was thinking it's a Sunday feast lecture. There probably won't be a lot of devotees there because they will only allow so many in the temple, but a lot of people will be looking online, and that will be on the Alachua Temple website. So if you just go to Alachua Temple, or maybe Radha Priya can get the link and put it up. And then if you're interested in that, that's 5, so that's at this time. So for some of you that's good, some not. Did I play you this last time? Lower than a blade of grass, more tolerant than a tree, ready to offer our respects to others, wanting no respect for myself. Chinadapi sunichina Gorapi Sahishnana Amanina Manadena Titania Sada Hari, feeling lower than a blade of grass, more tolerant than a tree, ready to offer our respects to others, wanting no respect for myself. Then what happens? Then I can chant the holy name constantly, chant the holy name constantly, chant the holy name constantly. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I'm lower than a blade of grass, more tolerant than a tree, ready to offer our respects to others, not wanting any respect for myself. And in such a state of mind, I can chant the holy name. I can chant the holy name. Chant the holy name. Chant the holy name. Tirada peace and Ichena, Tirada peace and Ishna, Amanina Manadena, Tanya Sadari, Tirada peace and Ichena, Tirada peace and Ishna, Amanina Manadena, Tanya Sadari, Kirtanya Sadari, Kirtanya Sadari. Tanya Sadari, Tanya Sadari, Tanya Sadari, Tanya Sadari, Tanya Sadari. So, I think we should sing verses like that. I think it's very sweet. I like it a lot. So, Today, I think we're going to need to discuss. I hope you like that. I could just sing the whole class. I mean, I don't need to speak. I'm doing another class tonight. It's a private class which will be shown. It's going to be recorded tonight and it'll be shown later. I could sing all night, basically. Like, those verses, I mean, that verse, it's amazing. And I was thinking today, I was asked to give a class on japa, and I was thinking today about this verse. And if you look at the verse just literally, the way it's translated, it says, you should chant in a humble state of mind. And then it defines what a humble state of mind is. Humble state of mind is to think yourself lower than the straw in the street means to think yourself below everyone, because we think we're above a lot of people. And this whole issue with Black Lives Matter, it's all about white people thinking they're better. Or a lot of people thinking they're better than black people. And lower than the straw in the street, the significance of that means you think, I mean, if you're straw in the street, you're on the bottom, so everyone's better. And straw is not resistant. It accepts its position. So that's part of humility. And then tolerance just extends that concept. Acceptance. I'm a straw in the street. I just get blown around. I don't resist it. That's humility. You just, whatever's happening, you see it as your karma. You accept it. You tolerate it. And so you feel low in the straw in the street. You're more tolerant than a tree. You offer all respects to others, and you don't want any respect for yourself. Now, one should chant the holy name in that mood. So then, the next question arises. Well, is that, I only have to do that when I chant the holy name? No, it's not that easy. I just sit down and chant, and I feel myself humble. No. One has to do that 24/7. That is seemingly impossible. But if one can do that, if one can actually be humble, enter that mood, then one is in the, for lack of a better word, one is in the space where one can chant 24 hours a day. And probably in Krishna consciousness, the greatest achievement for which there are the most obstacles is to become humble, because ego will fight voraciously, ferocious. Ego will fight ferociously to not be humble, to not admit our mistakes, to look good, to do something to get respect, to not forgive, to stick to our guns. I'm right, you're wrong. The ego will fight like that. And that's why it's so hard to be humble. But Mahaprabhu is saying that if we are to chant constantly, then we need that. So it's a nice meditation. Lower than the straw in the street. What are you supposed to think? What are you supposed to feel when you chant? Lower than the straw in the street. What are you supposed to think? Lower than the straw in the street. Okay, well let's look at how we think now. Okay, if we were to write a song about how we feel now, what would the words be? It'd be something like this. I'm much bigger than a blade of grass. Right? No, even much bigger than a blade of grass, yeah. I'm pretty good, I'm pretty smart, I'm pretty beautiful, I do this and that. That's how we think, right? I'm better than a lot of other people. I was number one in my high school class. Isn't it how we think? So what does Trinadapi mean? It means don't think like that. It's actually inconceivable from the ego we're presently in. It's inconceivable. that one could feel like a blade of grass. If you feel like a blade of grass and you're not Krishna conscious, then call up emergency and go to a mental hospital. There's something wrong. You won't. You can't feel like a blade of grass unless you're Krishna conscious. It's so inconceivable. There's one song a devotee said, when I heard of Mahaprabhu's movement, I became so attracted. It was so beautiful. And then when I read this verse of Chaitanya, of the Shikshashtakam, he said, then I knew it was impossible. I lost hope. Become more, I'm much more. That's it. Okay, here's the new verse. I'm bigger than everybody else. I'm much better than everybody else. We say in America, I don't know if you say this in other countries, we say, I'm the top dog. He's the top dog, yeah, exactly. You are the top dog. Yeah. If you've heard me lecture a lot, one thing you've heard, many, many stories about how Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur did not let his disciples criticize one another. He really, really did everything to prevent it, to preach against it, to not allow them to do it when they wanted to come to him and complain. And if you think about it, he was teaching this verse. He was demanding this verse. And next Thursday, what I want to do, if there's not more questions, on Thursday we have the Russian class. And this past Thursday, I had an idea to talk about something, but there were so many questions left over from the previous weeks that the whole class was questions. But I wanted to talk about the balance between appreciating and necessary criticism, because there's a very fine line between it. Sometimes it's necessary to call a spade for the welfare and the benefit of others. But it was very rare that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur let his disciples do that. So he taught by example this verse, that if we're going to practice this verse, then we better practice it. Hold on a second. I have to move my AC. I am right now sweating like a dog, but I don't know if dogs sweat. Do dogs sweat? Sometimes they sweating like a pig, sweating like a dog. I don't know if they sweat, but I'm sweating like a Mahatma Das. And so my AC in this room is too loud and it doesn't work. Anyway, I have to move this because I have to set it up to blow air directly in here. So just wait a minute, otherwise we're having the Mayapur effect in this room, which it actually makes it hard to give classes when it's this hot. Hold on a second. So, for my study of the teachings of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta on humility, he tied together criticism and humility. In other words, he saw criticism as a sign of pride, as a lack of humility. And of course, there's this balance, what if somebody does something wrong? And of course, that has to be called out. But in general, when it wasn't necessary, or in general, he didn't want his devotees to have that vision, because it bordered this arrogance, pride, which is so destructive to bhakti. Because until that false ego is completely destroyed, real humility will not develop. And the problem is, within this world, our mission in this world is to play God. And in order to play God, this false ego needs a lot of energy, a lot of pride in who we are, and that's what gives us strength. It gives us energy. And bhakti is completely opposite of that. It's always to feel oneself unqualified, always to see others better. And so that's how you evaluate your advancement when you hear that someone is excelling in Krishna consciousness, someone is doing better service than you. I think that's wonderful. We were, a few weeks ago on our Tuesday night class, we were talking about this very point, where in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, you'll find that we discussed two incidents. One was Rupa and Sanatan getting Mahaprabhu's mercy, and one was King Maharaj Pratarudra getting Mahaprabhu's mercy. And in both cases, the devotees were very happy, and Mahaprabhu said, "Bless them, shower your mercy." And they were all very, very happy to see Mahaprabhu give them their mercy. And so Prabhupada was pointing out in that purport that this is the nature of a devotee. And if you're envious, if you're proud, you won't be happy to see another you get mercy, because you'll think, well, now this other is getting something I don't have, or this other will outdo me, or this other will be honored instead of me. And that's a big contamination. And I think we don't perhaps understand how big a contamination it is and how big an obstacle it is to bhakti, but it's really a huge obstacle. And it's something to be aware of when you see in your heart that you're not happy when others are praised, or you're not happy when others outdo you. Your heart doesn't feel joy in seeing others excel. You're not getting the honor that you feel is due to you, and so forth. We should look at these things and we should understand, okay, this is not a good sign. This is a sign that I'm not advancing, because humility is not finding its place in my heart. Perhaps you know that, I'm not sure who it was, maybe it was Raghunath Das Goswami, but when Krishnadas Kaviraj was writing Chaitanya Charitamrita, some of the devotees said, you could write about me, or you could quote me, but just don't mention my name. There's a devotee who said this, or there's a devotee who did that. It's natural. A devotee doesn't want recognition. Now, sometimes we may want to be recognized because it's helpful for the preaching. So in order to glorify Krishna, we may want to be recognized, and that would be helpful. But in general, it's not a personal desire. So this is one way we can evaluate, we can calibrate our Krishna consciousness. We just have to see, as we're floating through the material world and going through different situations, what are we feeling when we're going through them, when others are making advancement, maybe doing better than us? Are we happy to acknowledge that? Now, one thing that's important to understand is if you are happy to acknowledge it, you will be happy. That sounds obvious, right? I'm happy to acknowledge it, that makes me happy. If you're not happy to acknowledge it, you won't be happy. That sounds obvious also. But the point is, and you probably know this from experience, when your heart is not joyful to see the progress of another devotee, you become very unhappy. It is a very, very unpleasant feeling, and it's not a spiritual feeling, it's a material feeling. So this is one of the ways you can monitor your progress in Krishna consciousness, by Trinadapi Sunichena. Todorapi Sahishnana. Tolerance. Okay, then you go to tolerance. Then you look at your tolerance. How tolerant am I? And sometimes we're intolerant, and we justify intolerance by kind of thinking that it's just intolerable. Nobody should tolerate it. Nobody should have to tolerate this. What the person did is wrong, it's unjust, it's unfair. Why should I have to tolerate this? Well, the reason you should have to tolerate it is because that will get you out of the material world. Now, if some devotee is being harmed or something, we shouldn't tolerate that. Obviously, we shouldn't turn a blind eye to injustice or exploitation and so on. But there are some situations which if we don't tolerate, then it's a red flag that in the humility department I'm not doing well, because tolerance is a barometer of humility. And you might say, well, there's certain things I've always been intolerant of. Understandably. We all have different natures. But my point is, if we are progressing in bhakti, and we've been devotees for decades, we should be progressing, there should be some progress in the tolerance department. And we're tolerating things which we don't like, which are uncomfortable, unpleasant. Now, we don't want to tolerate exploitation of other devotees. We don't want to tolerate cheating and these things. I'm not saying that we turn a blind eye to things. But in regards to our personal life, if we're becoming more tolerant, that's a good sign. If we're not, or we're becoming less tolerant, it's a bad sign in the humility department. Because that's, the more if you look at it from this perspective, the more you advance in Krishna consciousness, the more your humility increases. The less advanced you are, the more you go down, the more your pride increases. And in a perfect state of Krishna consciousness, there's perfect humility. When you reach prema, then there's perfect humility. And so it's kind of like this. As you go up, your pride goes down. As you go down spiritually, your pride goes up. So I think that's a good barometer to meditate on. Where's my level of pride? Where's my level of respect for others? Where's my level of appreciation? Sometimes we've seen situations where devotees don't like one another, and they actually can't appreciate one another. Even if you ask them and say, please appreciate this devotee, say something nice about him, it'll purify him. He says, I have nothing nice to say about him. Now, okay, that devotee may not be the nicest devotee, and it may be difficult sometimes to say nice things about him. But to say I have nothing nice to say about him, it's not possible that there's nothing nice about that devotee. And so we have to look at that and say, okay, this must be a reflection on some problem in my heart that's going on inside internally, that I'm unable to appreciate this devotee. Okay, maybe he did so many bad things. But if I can't appreciate the good things, that in my understanding of this verse of Shishastakam, that's a problem. And Mahaprabhu says, offer all respects to others. So respects could come out in different ways. Like sometimes Prabhupada would say, you respect from a distance. With Mayavadis, he said, respect from a distance. Srila Prabhupada, these Mayavadis are sannyasis. We're supposed to pay obeisances to sannyasis. We're supposed to honor the sannyas ashram. All right, yes, you can honor them from a distance, because association is not desirable. But still, the principle, you honor that ashram. There's some etiquette there. We respect it. So that's important. And it's important both for the culture of our movement, but it's also important for the culture of our own bhakti. But the main point I'm making is that as you progress, you see these things be developing within you, greater appreciation of other devotees, a more natural desire to respect them, praise them. And if it's the other way, it's a sign of there's a problem. If arrogance or pride is arising in the heart, what are the signs? Blasphemy, criticism, inability to recognize anything good in a person. These are signs. So these are things to be aware of. And then the big one, another big difficult one, not wanting respect for myself. We do a course on humility, and I ask a question. I say, would it bother you if you did some amazing service let's say for Rath Yatra or book distribution, a book distribution marathon or some big festival, you were heading up a team and you were only sleeping a few hours a night for a week or two and working really hard. And then after the festival, there was a ceremony, there was a celebration to celebrate and honor all the devotees who took part. And you did as much or more than anybody. And your name wasn't mentioned. Would that be a problem for you? Would you be upset and so forth? And most devotees said yes. And occasionally a devotee said, I would be very happy if they didn't mention my name. I don't want to be honored. And then I thought, that's a very good sign. Not only would they not be unhappy about it, they said, oh, if they don't mention me, it's okay. But they were actually happy. Isn't that interesting? They were actually happy that their name wasn't being mentioned. No, I like it better that nobody knows. So that's a sign that humility is developing. Offering all respect to others, wanting no respect for myself. In our humility workshop, we asked a question. Think of a time when you did service with a motive to please Prabhupada, to please your Guru, to please Krishna, to please the Vaishnavas. But at the same time, there was some motive thinking that if I can please them, I will be recognized for that service. I will get some honor. The devotee community will give me some praise for whatever that service was. It could be dressing the deities or cooking or book distribution or anything that could be easily noticed. So write down. I just said, think of all those times when your motive to serve, although pure, was mixed by a desire to be recognized. And when we were sharing, one devotee, she was reflecting, she said, I don't think there's ever been a time when in any service I've done, it was entirely free from the motive to have some praise for it, or recognition, acknowledgement. And I thought that was honest. I think that's true for many of us. So this kind of reflection is important because Mahaprabhu is saying we should chant the holy name in a mood where we don't want any respect. We don't want recognition for ourselves. We're not trying to stand out in the crowd. Hey, I'm here, look at me, I just did this. And then I think one of the places it becomes a real paradox is in a situation where there's a lot of devotees. And, let's say a big Kirtan Mela or a big Mayapur festival or some place where by giving a class, doing a Kirtan, or being honored, there's a lot of people are going to hear about it. And it can really spark that desire to do something to get recognition. And in Mahaprabhu says, chant the holy name in humble state of mind. And sometimes there's that desire to show off, which is the antithesis of what Mahaprabhu is saying. And it contaminates the holy name. And you can feel the holy name contaminated if somebody's chanting that way. I don't know if you've ever seen that, or you might say, well, how can you assume that they're chanting that way? Well, sometimes you don't have to assume it. You can feel it. The kirtan, it does not feel transcendental. It feels like this person is not trying to attract attention to Krishna. I don't know if you've ever been in a kirtan like that. But they're trying to attract attention to themselves. And there's no transcendental bliss there. And vice versa, I'm sure you've been in a kirtan where the person is not at all trying to attract attention for themselves. They're very humble, and you can feel it, and that the sweetness of the holy name increases. You'll feel it yourself if you chant that way. And that's it. To chant in that mood, then we could say, Pilgrim, you have arrived. Now you're chanting without any desire that anyone would recognize you or even know. You're not looking, I recorded this kirtan. How many likes have I got on Facebook? I only got 1,000. I'm so depressed. So-and-so got 10,000. That's the reason you did kirtan? That's not kirtan. They once asked Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, he said, well, who is the best kirtan leader? how do you do kirtan the right way? What's the best way? And he said, the best kirtan leader is the one who chants in a humble state of mind, thinking himself lower than the straw on the street, etc. He said, he's the best kirtan leader. Now we have situations, I don't know if you know this, but during Prabhupada's time, there was one devotee who was a little ostentatious in his kirtan. He's a musician, and a very good musician, and a very good singer. And his kirtans were a bit of a stage performance. I mean, he was in a rock band before, so he's used to performing on stage. And you could feel it, and you could feel that this was wrong. This was not the way we do kirtan. So one time, I believe it was, as far as I know, at least in my mind, I have the vision that he was leading Guru Puja for Prabhupada in Vrindavan, and he had lined up the best mridanga players, the best kartal players, and he began doing it, and it was very, we would say, fashionable, like really, like over the top. Sri Guru Charana Padama. And it's like, what's going on here? This is unnecessary. And Prabhupada, he stopped it. And he asked another devotee to chant. I think he asked a Gurukula boy to chant. And the Gurukula boy was not a good singer, materially. And Prabhupada liked that kirtan. So Prabhupada made a very powerful statement. Get rid of the show-off. Let this other boy chant. He can't sing worth anything, but he has bhakti, and that's what we're interested in. It's interesting, isn't it? And it's important. Bhakti pleases Krishna, and whatever is pleasing to Krishna will please Prabhupada, even if materially it's not good. So Prabhupada was enjoying this kirtan, and everyone else is like, oh, this devotee can't sing. He's singing like a frog and off key. And Prabhupada said, very nice, because there is bhakti. And because Prabhupada knew Krishna would be pleased with the kirtan. But this other show-off, Prabhupada, like, stop it. Krishna doesn't like this. Finish it, you know. So I think that's I think that's important. And another thing that's so interesting, you find throughout the Bhagavatam how much Krishna appreciates devotees who are humble, and how much he doesn't appreciate devotees who are proud. And when devotees are found to be proud, what does Krishna do? He does something to curb their pride. Doesn't he? Think of it. You know, there's so many stories. Brahma, Indra, then even the gopis, like that. So what we learn from that is pride has no place in the spiritual world, and therefore it has no place in sadhana. And pride is the killer of our relationship with Krishna, because pride is the vehicle which we use to imitate Krishna, which we use to compete with Krishna. And so Krishna wants a relationship with us, and if there's pride there, he'll have to kill it, because it's killing the relationship. That's it. I think it's an interesting way of looking at pride. It's killing the relationship. So, that's what I have to say today, spontaneously. I thought we were going to talk about Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Well, there may be time we can talk about him. But that's what I have to say today about that. And you have some comments and questions, but I am sweating like a... I don't know. What animal sweats? Is it a pig? You know, we say I'm sweating like a pig, but then the question is, do pigs really sweat? I'm sweating like a bricklayer in Mayapur in the noon sun of summer. They definitely sweat. Okay, you have some comments, so we're going to take your comments or questions. I'm going to go back to Ta-da, ta-da. I have a rasa with Krishna Karshini that I miss her comments. Krishna Karshini has become vulnerable, and she said, we were talking about a blade of grass. She says, I am much bigger than anyone else. This is what I think. Yeah. And we think that'll make us happy. It doesn't. How to be humble and at the same time fulfill the need to be meaningful and sense we feel valuable? Very good question. They're actually two different things. You can't feel, you shouldn't feel valuable if you're not doing something valuable. That would be wrong. So, although this sounds like a strange answer, how do I feel valuable? Do something valuable. How do I feel? Chant 16 good rounds. And you get up in the morning, chant 16 good rounds. You will feel valuable. Read Bhagavatam at least an hour or two every day. You will feel valuable. Do some service to spread Krishna consciousness. You will feel valuable. I think the problem comes is when you want someone else to validate you. Let the holy name validate you. Let this, like Krishna told the gopis, be satisfied with your bhakti. Let your own bhakti validate you. There was one lady who said something I really liked. She was I guess a psychologist or therapist. She said, sometimes you may do something and the results are not what you wanted, but you did your best. And you know you did your best. And she said, you should be satisfied knowing that you did your best, in spite of what other people, how they reacted. Like, sometimes I will do something, like I'll really work hard on something, prepare it, deliver it, and sometimes I'll just do something off the cuff. And the thing I worked hardest on is not always the thing that people like the most or appreciate the most or even acknowledge. And sometimes things I just do off the cuff, just put something out there or just give a spontaneous class, people will say, oh, that was so great. So but I felt that what I prepared for, what I delivered, I felt was more meaningful. At least that's how I felt it. So I think you have to live on that plane to recognize your efforts. This is very, very important. If you are doing the best you can do, recognize I've put my sincere efforts. I was sincere about what I was doing. This is the best I can do, and I have to be satisfied with that, even if no one else validates me, even if no one else even notices. Super important until you're sad. So you're basically, like Krishna said, be satisfied with your own bhakti. The world may validate you for the wrong reason also. They may validate you for something you shouldn't even be validated for. How do we even know what is good? People buy it, so it's good. It doesn't mean objectively it's good. It doesn't mean that the person across the street, nobody's buying their product, doesn't mean their product isn't better. Just karmically and marketing-wise, it didn't take off. So, I can tell you personally, this is interesting. I think this is true for many people who are creating something. Sometimes you put a lot of time and energy into something, and you feel this is important, that this is really important, but you don't know if the world's going to see that it's important. But you're really. I'm working on a project right now, and I think what I'm doing is going to have a tremendous effect on devotees and people coming to Krishna consciousness in terms of helping them in their japa. But of course, we never know, and we can't control the results. And so sometimes you just have to go with it. You put your time and energy into it because you believe in it. Then you have to put it out there, and then whatever happens, happens. And, it may not be appreciated in your lifetime. And it may be discovered after you die. Like, this is amazing. Who was this person? What did they do? Well, nobody really noticed it until they died. Sometimes it's like that. And you never even get to live through the appreciation of it. But you knew in your heart it was valuable, so you did it. You dedicated yourself to it. This is huge, we're going to do it. Like the Orville and Wilbur Wright. They had this idea. If we can create an airplane, this is going to change the whole world. It's going to change the game. And so they did it with their own money, their own time. So I think that's important. You believe in something, do it to your best of your ability. And how the world takes it, who knows? Wasn't that Prabhupada's mood? My guru wants me to do this. I make a sincere effort. I don't know the result. And in one sense, the result was secondary. Of course, he wanted the result. But the primary was sincerely trying to serve the order of his guru. I'll come to the West. I don't know if it's going to be successful. He had doubts, so many doubts. Even before he left, he had doubts. How are these people going to accept it? You see all the doubts in his poems. They're full of doubts. How they're in modes of passion and ignorance. How will they understand this? I'm not qualified. How can I make them understand it? But you want me to do it, and there's nobody to validate Prabhupada. None of his godbrothers were validating him, or very few. They validated more when he was more successful, but in the beginning there was a lot of doubt that he could do anything. And even he had doubt. But it didn't matter, because he knew it was the right thing to do, and I think that's very important for us. If you know it's the right thing to do, just do it. It doesn't matter what anyone else says. And there'll always be people who will appreciate it, and there'll always be people who will criticize. You know, Krishna Karshani, I've been criticized by people, and you also know that people have appreciated what I've done. And I know what I'm doing will be appreciated by some, and I know some won't appreciate it. But I'm not playing the game that everyone's going to like what I do, but I'm playing to offer service to those who need it. So, if you don't need it, that's fine. I understand. But some will need it. And when they come and tell me, this class or this book or this workshop really solved a huge problem in my life or helped me, when they say that, I already knew that people were going to say that. I'm not saying this out of pride, but it's just, I had a sense that what I'm teaching is necessary. It's going to help people. And so when they tell me, even if it's the first time I hear it, if it's like a new course, and they tell me, I'm not surprised. I already knew that. And I said, how do I know that? Because it helped me. When I discovered what I'm teaching, it helped me tremendously. And so when someone says, this has really helped me, I think in my mind, I say, I know. I know this is powerful. I discovered these are my realizations after so many years of being a devotee. I'm sharing them with you. And I know they're going to help you. And my validation is not you telling me. My validation is knowing there will be people out there even who will never tell me. You want to hear an interesting story, Krishna Karshani? You're going to like this one. Maybe, it must have been like 15 years ago, I met a devotee who had moved to Alachua, who basically I helped become a devotee in San Diego. And we had done a workshop together. And the nature of this workshop, I wasn't teaching it, I was attending it. The nature of this workshop is you were asked to be vulnerable about your problems so you could kind of open up and talk about them and then work on yourself. And so it was a lot about opening up. So she was opening up. And after the workshop, she said to me, she had joined in San Diego when I was there. I don't know, must have been the mid-'80s or something. And she told me something that she never told me before. So this, if we're talking 15 years ago and then we're going to the 80s, so this event had, it was probably the late 80s. Latest, it would have been the late 80s, because after that I wasn't there. Sometime in the mid 80s, and then we're talking about 2005. So let's say 20 years later. She said, when I was becoming a devotee, I hit a point, and I don't know the details. She said, I hit a point where I became suicidal. And I had decided to kill myself. And I thought, she wanted to kill herself on Sunday or Monday, and she thought, well, before I kill myself, I should go to the temple. And I don't know how this happened. These things happen by Krishna's arrangement. We ended up talking about suicide and ghosts. Maybe she was asking, maybe sometimes in those situations, sometimes you'll be speaking about something and you don't know why, and it's because Krishna knows what that person needs to hear. So you're an instrument, so you just start speaking about it. You don't even know why. But anyway, she related to me that we ended up talking about ghost, killing yourself, ghost, and so forth. And she said, as a result of that conversation, she decided not to kill herself. This was 20 years later. And I said, what do you think I said? I said, and now you tell me. I said, I had no idea. I had absolutely no idea. Now, wouldn't that be inspiring to know that your preaching saved someone from killing themselves? And she got married, nice kids, everything. It would be nice to know, right? But sometimes you don't know. Sometimes people don't tell you. And you could think, what's the use of what I'm doing? I'm not getting any good feedback. But there's all these silent voices who are not saying anything. But you know in your heart of hearts that you've made your best efforts to help people. And that's all you need to know. Right? You know what Prabhupada said about writing? He said it doesn't matter how many people read your book. You do it as a service for your own purification. We're not writing for popularity. And sometimes when I write a book, or I do a song, or I develop a course, those are basically the three things. Well, I write an article, or I write a book, or I develop a workshop, I give a class, an online course, or do a whole CD of songs. Often I'm thinking in my mind that if this touches one person's heart, then it was worth it. And that one person becomes a devotee because of that. And if they wouldn't have become a devotee if I didn't do that, then it was worth it. Maybe it didn't affect anybody else, but this one person became a devotee. Isn't it worth it? And if you do something sincerely in Krishna's service, it's going to affect people. Like you organize a festival, or you organize a program, people come, they get the holy name, they get prasadam, and you always meet that one person, and you realize that's why we did this program, that one person, and it just, boom, and that person takes to Krishna consciousness. Their life is changed from that one program. We've seen it, right? And I was once telling my godbrother, who was thinking of doing something, and he was also thinking, but like, what's the use? Because who's going to hear it? And I said, there are many people who are going to appreciate it. You just have to imagine them. And if you are holding back, there's all those people who could get it, who won't get it. And he was thinking, yeah, but if I do this, and just a few people may benefit. I said, well, maybe that's why you're doing it, just for those few people. We have to think like that. And so when Prabhupada came to America, he really didn't know. But he came, it was his duty, the order of his guru. And he was being validated. And Prabhupada said, I was never discouraged, although he had every reason to be discouraged. I said, I was always encouraged by, it was the order of my guru. So I think that's important to know if you're sincere, that's all you need. and you can validate your own sincerity. But if you're not sincere, or if you're serving to get some recognition, then you might say, how can I get self-validation? You're not going to get it if your motive is impure. Then you're going to need it from other people, because you won't feel it, because you're not sincerely doing it to please Krishna. So that's what I would say about that. As Forrest Gump said, that's all I have to say about that. And now it's time to light up your life with more light. It's a little dark here, isn't it? But then I'll get to your other comments. Okay, is that better? More light? Okay. I don't know if that answered your question, but it answered some question. Krishna Kaushini says, but maybe if we see those contaminations coming out, it's a good sign, because at least we see it, and maybe before we were not even aware of it. Yeah, it's a good way to think, and it's the right way to think, because it's discouraging when you see your bad qualities, but think of all the people who don't see their bad qualities because of pride. So the fact that you're able to see them, that's a pretty positive sign. And so I can celebrate that I'm able to see my bad qualities. Why are you celebrating? Oh, I found so many things wrong with me. Why is that making you happy? Because I didn't have the purity to see that before. That means I'm advancing. And now I can be more humble. And it doesn't matter. I just did a video, I think, or a class. It doesn't matter that you have these bad qualities. They're not impediments to your bhakti. As long as you're doing bhakti sincerely, you're following Prabhupada's order, the bad qualities won't impede you. They make it more troublesome or sidetrack you a little bit, but they're not going to destroy you. They're just part of the process, part of the purification process. Or what did Prabhupada say? You're making ghee, the contaminants come to the top. What comes to the top? The fat. Okay, Amrita Radhika says, didn't Prabhupada say that if we envy someone, it's because we want their qualities, and if we serve them, we cure the envy, because it's actually admiration we have for them? Yes, he did say that. It's good to recognize that. You would never envy someone you didn't admire. You may not realize you admire them, but I always give the example that we don't envy people who are cleaning the street or trash collectors and so forth, because we wouldn't want their position. But we envy people who have the position we want, so we're indirectly admiring them. That's what Prabhupada said. Yes. Marco Mantovani says, I think the best way to cleanse ourselves is to be in the association of pure devotees. In this way, we can acquire and develop all the good qualities, such as humility, which is a prerogative for spiritual advancement. It's really easy to be humble when you're with someone who's humble, isn't it? It's really easy to be anything if you're with someone who has that quality. It just rubs off on you. And if you're around people who have bad qualities, those bad qualities rub off also. And that's why good association is so important. And whatever qualities you're lacking, if you can find someone that has those qualities or has them more than you do, it will help you a lot to associate with them. Let's say you're an intolerant person. If you can associate with a tolerant person, you will see how they deal with different situations and how tolerant they are, and that will inspire you. Because you'll think, if I were in that situation, I would have been upset, but he wasn't. He was very understanding and very calm. He didn't yell, although he could have been justified in yelling because he was mistreated. He didn't fight back. He didn't try to defend himself. And so you see that, and those are all your weaknesses, and he doesn't have those weaknesses. It's very powerful. Yes. In the ashram life, no one gets praised. So you don't expect it. You get used to just during your service without wanting anything in return. It's very sobering, especially in the beginning. Well, I think every ashram is different. That okay, join your ashram. Now don't expect to be praised here. You're going to be criticized. We don't want to praise you because then you become puffed up. So we're just going to tear you down. You know something, what I found, which is interesting for devotees, that even if you want to be praised, if you're praised, generally it actually makes you more humble, because it's like you know that praise is for Krishna, and you know you really shouldn't take it, isn't it? I mean, like, if I'm bringing the plate out and it's for the deity, and then I offer it to you, you'd be like, no, I can't take that. That's for Krishna. So when we're praised, sometimes we feel like, no, that praise is for Krishna, I shouldn't take it. So sometimes, even though we want praise, when we finally get it, it makes us more humble. Isn't that interesting? I don't know if you've experienced that. It seems to be a paradox. Of course, you might say, well, I've seen the opposite, and obviously the opposite could happen, but often the praise makes one more humble because they realize that praise is for Krishna. Or when they finally get the praise, they realize it's not really satisfying. It's much more satisfying to praise other devotees. And so that's interesting also. And sometimes devotees have this experience when they're hungry and they're cooking for the deity, they lose their appetite. A lot of devotees have that experience. And I also have the experience that if you're hungry for praise and you praise others, you lose your appetite for praise. So, you know, what's the cure for wanting to be praised? One of the cures is praising others. And your appetite for praise becomes fulfilled. I mean, I've seen this a lot. A lot of devotees say, I'm really, really hungry, but I'm cooking for the deities, and they finish cooking and they're not hungry anymore. They're satisfied. I'm sure you've seen that. So there's a lot to be said about giving the very thing that you want for yourself. I want praise, I want honor. Let me give it to others. And then somehow that need is satisfied in giving it to others. I want to be loved. Okay, give love, see what happens. I want Krishna. Give Krishna. You will get Krishna. Whatever you give, you get. So that's also important. You know, think about this. Whatever it is you want, give it to somebody else and see what happens. Or give it to many people. And see if the desire for that thing is not fulfilled in giving it to others. It's like, I actually don't want to be praised. I rather praise others. I feel better when I praise others. Isn't that nice? So if you say, I want to be the center, I want to be praised, praise somebody else. Make someone else the center. See if that works. Okay. Sri Gaura always the best kirtan leaders. Yes. Krishna Karshini. How to get out of the cycle of hate in relationships? If a devotee doesn't like us and doesn't see anything about us and doesn't see anything or say anything about us and saying bad things about us, doesn't see us and says bad things about us, what do you mean? It won't look at you? Won't talk to you, and naturally we also don't see anything good in this devotee. Hare Krishna. What to do? Hare. The answer, Krishna Karshini, is Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare, without offense. They don't see anything good in us. We don't see anything good in them. I just realized that I am in a situation that a devotee doesn't like me. I don't like him, and I completely cannot find anything good about him. How to find good in a devotee? We don't see any good. How to appreciate a devotee? We don't see any good. Krishna Karshani say something good about, there's nothing good about him. Nothing, no, not one thing. Okay. When I was reading this, the first thing I thought is, if we can't see something good in somebody, then it's not about them, it's about us. The problem's with us. I mean, think about it. You can't see good in this person. I think you don't want to see good in the person because it's just, you've been hurt. And so it's like, you've been hurt, there's some revenge there, and it's shut down your ability to appreciate them. So when I was reading this, I was thinking, well, the obvious answer is, I have to look at myself and think, okay, I can't see anything good in this person. That is saying a lot about me. Aside from what it seems to be saying about them, what it's saying about me is, I can't see good in this person. That's what it's saying. Right? Hold that thought. I just remembered I have a battery that's burning out right now, and I have to pull it out of my viewfinder. Can you hold on? It'll probably take 12 seconds. Think of Krishna and Radha dancing for 12 seconds. I'll be right back. Well, I think that was 20 seconds, but you know, Krishna said he was coming back the next day from Mathura, and he was a little late, so I think we have it right. So, there was one teacher, not a devotee, but he was an impersonalist. At least he had an impersonalist guru, and by profession as a professor and a psychologist. And he said, it's good to think, when you criticize someone, rather than think what's it saying about the person, think what's it saying about you. And if you ask what's it saying about me, well, one thing that comes up is, well, it seems that I have an inability to see something good. It seems that I have a need to criticize. That's what it's saying about me. So that's where I would start in the answer to your question. I would start looking at, well, why is it that I have a problem seeing good in this person? What's going on? What's going on in my internal world? Because that's a contamination. If it's lower than a straw in the street, offering all respect to others, now I don't feel lower than this person. I don't want to offer respect to the person. Red flag, problem in my Krishna consciousness. I have to deal with this. Rather than thinking, this person does not deserve to be praised, they don't have any good qualities, I think, I cannot see their good qualities, that's a problem for me. It's not that they're a problem because of what they're doing. The problem is, I can't see anything good. I can't see beyond the bad. That's how we should think. Because if we go back to this foundational point, I, as a devotee, should be learning to offer respects to others. Then, this is where I want to look. There's a problem here. I'm having trouble offering respect. And I don't want to blame it on the person. That's a cop-out. Because everyone has good qualities. Now, okay, let's say the person has done something which everyone could agree or would agree is wrong. I'm not denying that. But let's say someone does something wrong and you're dwelling on it. And you can't stop thinking about it or talking about it or telling people about it. This devotee, you know what he did? And you tell everybody what he did. And you tell everyone how bad he is. And you tell everyone how he bothers you. Then the problem is no longer him. The problem is how he has affected you. You've allowed him to affect you in that way. And that's where I would look. Because it's too easy to blame the person and justify your inability to see anything good by just saying, well, there's nothing good about him. How do you expect me to see anything good in a person who has no good? You know, and we know that's not true. No one is all bad. There's a statement that really impressed me. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta posed a question. Why is it that I can't appreciate the devotees? Of course, he's taking the position of an ordinary person, and he's asking that question on our behalf. And saying, why is it that I can't appreciate the devotees? And he said, the reason I can't appreciate the devotees is I don't find a trace of humility within my heart. So it was like, bingo, bam, he hit it on the head. Because when I read that, I thought, this is interesting. He understands the psychology of fault finding, because when we fault find, we generally don't think we're fault finding because we lack humility. We generally think we're fault finding because this person's at fault. And I'm not saying they're not at fault. It's not even the question whether they are at fault or not. But a lot of times finding fault with them has no purpose. You're not going to achieve anything from it. You're not going to protect anybody. You're just going to waste energy in discussing it. So when he made that point, when I read that, I thought, okay, this is really the point of reflection. If he says, I'm finding fault because I lack even an iota, even a drop of humility, then he's turning the whole thing around and asking himself, why am I finding fault? Oh, because I lack humility. So therefore, I need to work on my humility. And if I work on my humility, I won't be finding fault. It's a beautiful thought. If you can remember that, why do I criticize the devotees? Because why don't I appreciate? No, I think he said, why don't I appreciate the lotus-feet? So I cannot appreciate the lotus-feet devotees because I lack even one drop of humility. So he's turning the whole thing around. He's not pointing it to the devotee. Well, it's because he doesn't have any good qualities. He's saying, because I don't have any humility, I can't see any good qualities. So that's the way to take it. Isn't it? It's the only way to take it. It's the only way to take it that will become purified and rectified. But if we think, as we normally do, well, why am I not able to see his good qualities? Oh, the answer is very simple. He doesn't have any. It's everything he does is bad. I've never seen anything good in him. And then I would think, if that's the case, that you can't say something nice about someone, the problem is not with him. The problem is with us. If I can't see a good quality in someone, the problem is with me. You know, recently we celebrated, well, not so recently, but we celebrated Ram Navami. And if you study Ravana, which I have done, it's very interesting to study Ravana, because I like to study him because you learn so much from him. He's such a bad person. You can learn from bad people. You can learn tremendous lessons from bad people. You just learn what not to do. So, you learn from good people what to do, but you learn from bad people what not to do. Like we just finished the course, the 10 behaviors of highly ineffective people. So we're learning what not to do. But if you study a little bit more about Ravana, and you see this with Hiranyakashipu also, I don't know about Hiranyaksha. But Hiranyaksha, his life is not described much in the Bhagavatam, but you get more of Hiranyakashipu. And you find things like Ravana was a great musician. Of course, he was a good manager. Look at his kingdom. It was made of gold. Things were going really well in his kingdom. He was a good musician, good manager, a few other things. I forget. But so you can even find good qualities in Ravana. And Ram, right before he killed him, he said, look, I don't have to kill you, just, surrender Sita. I'll bring all your soldiers back to life. I'll repair your kingdom. I'll put it back together. It was like no revenge at all. And you can have your kingdom. So he appreciated Ravana. And then when he finally shot Ravana, I think he sent Lakshmana or Vibhishan. He said, go, before he dies. He's a really good manager. Talk to him. Find out, find out his 10 top secrets of management before he dies. There's this show. This guy's name is Carmichael. Comes up on my YouTube or Facebook feed. And what he's done is something very interesting. He studied people who are fairly well known, motivational speakers, writers, psychologists, actors, sportsmen. And by listening to their talks, he learns about what has made them successful. And then he comes up with the 10 top, I don't know if they call it secrets, or the 10 success principles for each person. And then he'll say, principle 1, such and such. And then there'll be a little talk from that person. And the person's telling that principle directly or indirectly. So it's a little bit like that. Before Ravana dies, find his 10 top principles of success management. Isn't that interesting? So, although he did so many horrendous things, right on his deathbed, Ram was saying, "Go, let's learn from him. You know, he's a smart guy." So, everyone has good qualities, something good, even Ravana, right? Even Ravana. Yes. Okay. I think that answers your question. It was an important question, and I think this answer is extremely important to understand. And this is what the answer I got from reading what Bhaktisiddhanta said. Remember what he said? Why do I criticize? Because I lack even a drop of... Why do I not appreciate? He said, no, I think it was like, because I lack even a drop of humility, I'm unable to appreciate the lotus feet of the Vaishnavas. Wow. Wow. And as you become advanced, what happens? You appreciate their lotus feet. Somehow Krishna arranged that I would drop into this class unexpectedly, just in time to hear about how we should and shouldn't lead kirtan. Whoa, yes. You know how you should lead kirtan, Kaminiya? Like there's nobody in the room but you and Krishna. That's it. I think when I see Radhanath Swami leading kirtan, I think, it looks like it's just him and Krishna, and he's oblivious to everyone else, and he's just pouring his heart out. You see that with Prabhupada, it's like he was not in that room. It was like, whether there's 10,000 people in that room or nobody, he's in the same mood. So yeah, you sing for Krishna. Singing for Krishna is so nice, isn't it? Yeah? Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. So sweet, you know, it's just for Krishna. Who cares about anybody else? You must have read those letters where Prabhupada said, don't try to chant to please the crowd. Chant to please Krishna, and the crowd will be pleased. That's like, you know, don't cook to please the crowd, cook to please Krishna. That once Krishna eats the prasadam and he's happy, then everyone eats it and they're happy. What'd you guys put in this stuff? I feel intoxicated. Oh, it's just Krishna's saliva. Yeah, that's why. That's a Bhakta Burfi moment. What's in this food? Did you put LSD in it? No, it's just Krishna's saliva. Better than LSD. The Adventures of Bhakta Burfi. Amrita Radhika. The two emotional needs that fulfill all others, significance, love, and connection, etc., are contribution and growth. So, serving contribution is one way to fulfill the need of wanting validation, because the people you serve, the reason being, because the people you serve will say, thank you for helping me. This really helped me. And you'll feel validated without even trying, because they'll come back to you and saying, you really helped me. Now, as human beings, we want to be validated, as Amrita Radhika is saying. Significance is the need, you know, the need to know our life has purpose. If no one in the world tells me what I'm doing has any value to them, sometimes if I'm not very advanced, I may not validate my need for significance. But if you actually help people, they will tell you that you've helped them, that you're appreciated. And that fulfills your need for significance. But significance is slightly different than the need for praise. Significance is more the need to know that I am that my contributions are valuable. I like to know. But as I was saying, there is a stage of validation or feeling significant by giving it to yourself, by patting yourself on the back, by knowing my contribution is valuable. I know it's valuable, even though people don't know it. Like, sometimes you'll see someone will spend 10 years on a book, and they know that it's going to be a valuable contribution. Otherwise, why would they take 10 years of their life out? But there's no guarantee that it's going to sell a lot. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. But at least they know it's there, it's out there. Maybe after they die, it'll become a bestseller. Maybe they'll be the next Shakespeare. Maybe Shakespeare died unknown and poor. I don't know. It's possible. There are philosophers, there are artists who died poor and unknown and became discovered later. Right? But if you know it has value, then indirectly you're giving yourself that significance. Okay. Now, we have 3 minutes left. What to do? You know me, and you know that I am not shy, and I am an outgoing person. I wish to be humble, but don't lose my bold and outgoing personality. May I stay bold and outgoing and be humble at the same time? Yes. Or to be internally humble, I have to look humble also. Well, look at Prabhupada. He was very bold. My understanding of this is, if humility is more of a way that I look at myself, I look at my relationship with Krishna, I look at my relationship with other people. Sometimes, as you know, Prabhupada would get very upset with people because he saw them in positions of authority as teachers who are misleading people, and it really bothered him. And it had nothing to do with pride or lack of humility. So I think sometimes we may evaluate what is pride and humility by external symptoms, and it's internal. So Prabhupada always was humble at the feet of the other Vaishnavas, at his guru, at the feet of Krishna, even at the feet of his disciples. But sometimes he would chastise his disciples. So then that doesn't look like humility, but it also is. That's his service. He's serving his disciples with his humility. Right? So you can respect everyone, just like a father respects his children, but sometimes he has to punish or chastise them. So then it doesn't look like he respects them. But it's because he respects them, he doesn't want them to be spoiled, so he punishes them. So the punishment is coming from respect, although it doesn't look like it. So where is it coming from? More so than what you were doing. Arjuna killed that. But where was that coming from? Obedience to Krishna. Obedience to Krishna is one definition of humility. So out of obedience he was fighting, but from the material perspective, fighting doesn't seem to be an act of humility. But from the spiritual perspective, because it was done for Krishna, not for himself, it was done out of obedience to Krishna. So he's taking a humble position. First he's arguing with Krishna, then he takes a humble position and he decides, okay, Krishna, I'll do what you want. So when he finally does what Krishna wants, that's when he kills. And that's the demarcation line of when he crosses over from pride to humility, because now he's willing to do what Krishna wants. From the external point of view, it looks like, now he's become proud, and I'm Kshatriya, I'm going to kill. But as long as his motive was to please Krishna and subordinate himself to Krishna, he could do anything, and it would be humble. Excuse me, I have to take my Chinese pills for my throat because this is a catch-22. In order to cool me down, we have this AC in the next room and it blows cold air right on my throat. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. This is from China. The American from China, I chant Hare Krishna. Did that make you laugh? I hope so, because if I can make you laugh, I make advancement. Hold on a second. I just see another problem. I have my photo lights on in that room. I forgot to turn them off. Give me another 12 seconds. That could turn into 20, and I'll be right back. Okay, that was 12 seconds. So, it's important for us, if we're trying to be humble, to define what it is. And it's really a conception of how you see yourself and others, how you compare yourself to others, how you deal with others. And all of this criticism, lack of respect, domineering, I'm better than you, the envy, those are all signs that humility is not manifested. So if you're very bold in preaching and like that, but internally you're respectful, you feel yourself lower, but you're doing that as a service to people to help them, that's humility. And if you're very, very humble, like this t-shirt we're going to make, which you'll be able to buy soon, I'm proud to be humble. If that's how you feel, then your so-called humility is simply a show. I was dealing with one disciple, and she was reading my book, and I forget the question she asked, but I told her, I asked her a question. And her answer to the question was, this was interesting. She said, I now realize I present myself to people as humble because I want to get their praise for being humble. Now, how many devotees do that? More than one, I'm sure, more than her. Walk around like this, Hare Krishna Prabhu Jai. And if I do that, you'll think I'm humble. And then if you think I'm humble, it makes me feel good. I'm proud to be humble. No, I think the t-shirt says, I want to be recognized as being humble. I want to be recognized as the most humble devotee, something like that. So externally it can come off as humility, and it does come off as humility in many cases. But internally, it's not. Right? Have you seen that before? I'm sure you've seen it. Have you done it before? Maybe. Maybe we've all done it. You hit the point. I was hurt by this devotee and a need of revenge closed my ability to see any good in this person. I know that for sure this devotee has good qualities, and that's my problem. Yeah, exactly. That's how I've been trying to train everyone who comes to my classes to always see things in respect of your own failings. Because if you don't, then you can't correct yourself. And if we don't have a bright future for our movement if we're not learning to be able to see our own faults and correct them. And it's so important. Amrita Radhika says, I've seen that everyone has good qualities and also qualities that can trigger us. Shouldn't we train ourselves to see the good in others and just not even give emotion to the things that trigger? That's what I do. Because the thing is, if there's something you don't like in somebody and you think about it, how does it affect you? It just disturbs you. It drains your energy. It drains your mental energy. Sometimes it becomes a catalyst for envy, being judgmental, prejudiced, bigoted towards that person. And it's just as we say, a slippery slope. Slippery slope means you're just going down. So one of the things that I've learned over the years is when you see a situation and you see the potential that that situation has to harm you or degrade you, don't go there. Even if you feel like it's justifiable to go there or you should go there, but if the consequence of going there is it's going to degrade you, why go there? And so there's a lot of situations I've been in, maybe not a lot, but some, in which I'm trying to solve a problem, but there's always this fear in trying to solve it. It's going to take energy from me, and in a way that things could become worse in trying to solve it. and it could be very disturbing to me, and I may not be able to do anything, and I may disturb another devotee or many devotees. So in situations like that, then what you have to learn to do is detach and say, okay, I'm just going to detach, whatever. I'm not going to deal with this. I've done what I can do. I can't do any more. Then detach. And in that detachment, you leave it. And now your mind is free to pursue your service and your Krishna consciousness. But otherwise, your mind becomes entangled in this situation. It takes you away from Krishna consciousness. And it's just Maya's trick, right? Maya's trick. Someone write a song called Maya's Trick. Then that's the line of the song. It's just another trick of Maya. So you can describe all of Maya's tricks in your song, and each verse can end, and it's just another trick of Maya. And I think that's really a nice mantra for us. When we look at certain things, eventually we see that by thinking this way or pursuing this particular line of thought or strategy or action, it's actually interrupting my bhakti. It's actually taking away my Krishna consciousness. And then we realize this is just a trick of Maya. In the name of Krishna consciousness, the trick of Maya to deviate me. And I put so much energy in to disliking this devotee or criticizing this situation that it's like taking away my sanity. My rounds aren't good. It's taken away time from my reading because I'm writing letters about this. You might have that as a service. That's a different thing. But a lot of times we don't have it as a service. We just make it our service, and we don't need to. Swati says, I distance myself from people who are constantly hurtful to protect me in the non-devotee community. Is that wrong? No, that's right. Well, what we could say is, what may be more right is in the future, you'll learn how not to be hurt by those people. But until then, distance yourself. One of the ways you learn not to be hurt is to realize that the people who are hurting you, they have problems. They need to hurt you. That's what they do. So if you understand that, you'll be less affected by it. Marco says, I had the experience of being offended once by a devotee who spoke badly to me with hard words. Thanks to Krishna, I did not react in my turn, and I could see how it had a powerful effect on the person. Oh, that's nice. Who had offended me, not having a reaction, it had effect on them. The next day, this person changed her mood, apologized, while she was sincerely sorry. I was lucky enough to experience joy and forgiveness, and from that moment, much has changed for the better in the relationship with that devotee. Very nice story. It is true that often your in forgiveness, even without expressing it, will affect the other person. Yeah. Okay. Laugh your way back to Godhead. I have similar experience, and I did the same. The devotee didn't say sorry, but her actions towards me was humble since then. Okay, very good. So, you've got a 10-minute bonus for no extra charge today. And hope to see you tomorrow morning. Well, it's my morning, I don't know. For you in Australia, it's going to be your evening. For the initiation, which is 6 a.m. this time. And I hope I make it on time, because last night I think I went to bed at 2:30 or 3:30. And if I go to bed at 3:30 tonight, I have to sleep 2.5 hours to make it to the initiation. Totally off schedule. I don't know why. I'm just like full of energy. I think I only got 3 hours sleep last night. And I didn't nap today, and I'm still awake. And you could see I'm not tired. I didn't yawn at all. It's really weird. Maybe I've transcended my body. Maybe I'm self-realized. Or maybe I'm just crazy. I don't know. So, Amrita Radhika, not Amrita Radhika, Sundari Radha, we have to talk about the topic of further classes. and how to get more Aussies to come. Because really, we're doing this class for Aussies. Aussies. We're doing it, the time zone for Aussies. It's a good time for, well, not the best time for Chinese. It's a bit early. It's okay. There's no perfect time to do a class for the whole world, unless nobody sleeps. Anyway, we need to talk about that, and I need to get sorted out. The names, yes, the names have been chosen. Well, one of them has been chosen long ago, and the other one is maybe chosen. I have been known sometimes to choose the name, to decide on the name within an hour before initiation. See what Krishna reveals. Okay, everyone. Nice seeing you all. And chant, and take prasadam. Chant, as Prabhupada said, and when you get tired, take prasadam. And then chant some more. Hare Krishna. This lockdown has really been hard on me. You know why? People are bored. They got nothing to do. And they have more time also on their hands. So you know what that means? More people write to me. And that makes my life harder, as more people are thinking more. They have more time to write. And also the people that are serving me have more time to serve, which is good. But just means there's more emails to answer because of all the service. So I've had, you'd think, wow, the lockdown, nothing to do, not traveling, more time. I've had less time. That's crazy. And more classes. Some days are like 3, 4, 5 hours of classes. So, and then you prepare for the class, at least for one of the classes, for a couple hours. Then you chant your rounds. You're already at 9 hours. And I've got like 3 to 4 hours of communication. Then you're at 12 hours and you haven't even worked on anything else. It's crazy. I'm like, why can't I get all these other things done on my no time to do list? It's all the fault of the lockdown. So I made a decision. If I just stop sleeping, it'll be amazing. And I did it last night. But it'll probably catch up with me. Anyway, we did good last night. I got a lot done last night. Oh, yes, and I want to make an announcement. There's a devotee named Achyuta Gopi who lives in New York, was raised in New York. And a lot of you know her because she comes to Woodstock and does kirtan, or you just know her in general for her kirtan. She's amazing kirtaniya. She got soul. And I was going to do a Krishna conscious PC video. And the PC video is the devotee is about to say something and he catches himself. Instead of saying, she's a black devotee, she's a black, and he catches himself, and she said, she's a spirit soul in a black body, or she's a black body devotee. We have all these Krishna conscious PC. I need to go to the toilet. Nope. I need to service my body. Isn't that funny? We have all the PC. Okay, I'm going to hit the hay. No, I'm going to go to sleep. No, I'm going to take rest. Right? This the Krishna conscious PC. We can make a whole book. It would be funny. But in any way, she is a black devotee, raised in Krishna consciousness, and she is being interviewed by another devotee who's raised in Krishna consciousness, whose father is Indian. She was raised in America, named Gita Gopi, and they talked. She just wanted her to talk about her experience, like what is it like to be a black person in America, and more specifically, which was the most shocking thing, be a black person in ISKCON. And so she went to a school which is mostly Jewish and all white, and it was only her and one other girl. There were only 2 black girls. So could you imagine being the only one of 2 black girls in an all-white Jewish school in New York? You could kind of figure out that wasn't so great. So she described that and all the problems that she had, and all the accusations that were made about her, and all the things her so-called friends said about why they couldn't hang out with her because their parents told them not to because she's black. So she described that. But maybe the worst thing she described was her experiences in ISKCON, where maybe not exactly the same, but similar kinds of discrimination were happening. And I think it's really important. You hear that. And so, Kamaniya, if you could put that up here, or if you, her name is Achyuta Gopi. You could probably Google it. She was interviewed by a devotee named Gopi Gita. And Gopi Gita is probably on her Facebook page. Gopi Gita from Dallas, Texas. Anyway, you really should listen to it. It really gives an insight into the experience of a devotee in our movement. And I think the consequence of hearing that for most devotees, for many at least, was I never knew how black devotees were treated in ISKCON. We can't say it's universal. It's her experience, but her experience is an experience within ISKCON. And I think it was very valuable because it's like I was saying in another class. Imagine you hear someone who was raised in poverty describing how they would go to bed every night hungry, and they would just have like one little meal a day, not even enough to fill their belly, and how they were weak and vitamin deficient and so forth. It would be shocking because we never experienced that. I think most of us, maybe a few, if at most a few, never experienced that. And to hear about something like that, it's like, I never knew there were kids like that went through that. Or I heard about it, but I didn't ever really realize what it was like. So it's a bit like that when she talks. You get the real life details and real time, real life details of what happened to her. So I think it's really important. I think it'll help you and purify you. So that's my suggestion. Okay, and now we're going to go. That was 20 minutes. Okay, 20 bonus minutes. Please give me your mercy for those 20 bonus minutes, that Krishna may bless me with love of Krishna. Thank you very much, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. We'll see you tomorrow morning at 6 if you're around, which is 8 o'clock in Australia, which is like 3:30 in India, I think. India. And which is like noon or 1 or so in Europe. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Go Premanandi. Hari Hari Bo. Gaurango Nityananda. Yeah, the late morning program with Nam Ras has also. There are many. There are many. For sure. Thank you for watching. Hare Krishna.